What's going on, everybody? My name is Monatui, coach of the Tampa Bay Luxrays, and today I'm bringing you guys our TBU Week 5 match, team builder, not match, that's going up tomorrow, our Week 5 team builder versus Eric, aka Ashton Nakai. Check out his YouTube, link in the description below. We actually have faced Eric before. PPL D2 Season 1, he hacks us to shit by paralyzing my Manaphy like 28 times in a row. That's not an exaggeration at all. And then freezing my Tangrowth. And I also choked that game away with my Manaphy, but I'm going to focus on the hacks because then there's less responsibility on me, and that makes me feel better because I like avoiding my problems. But anyway, more importantly, this match. His team consists of Mega Altaria, Zapdos, Melodic, Reuniclus, Boratrix, Piloswine, Hitmonlee, Chandelure, and Liepard. On his bench that he cannot use is Xcloud, Amoonguss, and Ninjask. So he's got a very scary team. Definitely very well put together. You see all those threats there, and it's hard to believe that last week against Alex he actually swept him with a Cursed Piloswine. So he's definitely got some setup sweeping option in Mega Altaria, Piloswine apparently. Hitmonlee could be spooky, Chandelure could be spooky, same with Liepard. Well, Chandelure's literally spooky, it's a ghost with candles on it, but you know, like it's setup sweepers, I mean. He's got good hazard support in Fortress, and Piloswine's got hazard removal in that Fortress, as well as Zapdos. So his team's very well put together. Melodic is an issue, and Zapdos is just annoying for my team in general. It's very difficult to deal with. But I think I've brought a team of 6, or I think I've built a team of 6 that should be able to take on his team relatively well. So let's get into that real quick. Gotta get rid of these Steam notifications at the bottom right hand corner there. But anyway, we're starting off with our Kyurem Black. Relatively standard, Ice Beam, Fusion Bolt, Shadow Ball, and Hidden Power Fire. I guess Shadow Ball you don't typically see. But Shadow Ball is so that I can 2-KO physically defensive Reuniclus in case he decides to bring that. If he brings like Assault Vest, Regenerator, or something like that, I'll be able to deal good damage to that as well. It's also Expert Belt boosted, which is very nice. Hidden Power Fire is specifically for the Fortress. Ice Beam just for general stab, and it hits his team very hard. Like it hits the Mega Altaria, the Zapdos, and can pretty much not straight up OHKO the Liepard, but after some chip damage knocks out the Liepard. And then we have Fusion Bolt here, that is largely just for the Melodic, and it hits the Hitmonlee a little bit harder because Hitmonlee has paper defenses, but pretty good Spadef. So there's that. Expert Belt, once again, like I said in the last video, I'm loving Expert Belt Kyurem Black, because you don't take Life Orb Recoil, it hits hard enough on its own, you bluff a choice item, you do all these other things, so Expert Belt this week, definitely very nice. And yeah, that's about all I'm going to go into on that. The speed investment here that we have, there should be more of this in there. Don't know why that happens, but this speed investment is enough to outspeed, I believe, a Jolly Hitmonlee. Yep, should be enough to outspeed a Jolly Hitmonlee, which is very nice because I outspeed a good portion of his team. This is a very good wall breaker for him. I outspeed the Mega Altaria, I can knock that out. The Zapdos I should be able to outspeed if he is bulky, which I predict him to be. I outspeed, obviously, the Melodic, the Reuniclus, the Fortress, the Piloswine, the Hitmonlee, the Chandelure, and the only thing I don't outspeed is the Liepard. Of course, that is an issue because they can Prankster T-Wave my team, but we will deal with that when we get there. So, that is our Kyurem Black. Like I said, relatively standard, 4 attacks, Expert Belt, one of my favorite sets to use, and yeah, that is that. Next up, we have our Diancie. I need a Stealth Rocker for this match because I need to pressure things like the Zapdos, the Mega Altaria before it Mega Evolves, the Chandelure, things like that. So we are going with our Diancie as a Stealth Rocker. 3 attacks with Stealth Rock, especially defensive. This can take hits from pretty much any Altaria. I can fire off Moonblast on that. Diamond Storm is very nice for the Zapdos. I can take like a Hidden Power Steel from that, or even a Steel Wing if he decides to do that. I can take on, or I can set up Rocks versus the Melodic. I can take Gyro Balls relatively well because I'm very slow, especially with the quiet nature here. I could actually be running minus speed IVs on this thing, but don't want to get too slow, essentially. I don't want to outslow the Reuniclus, if I even can. But anyway, regardless, Gyro Ball doesn't do a lot of damage to me anyway, so I'm totally fine in that regard regardless. And like I said, this move coverage actually hits his whole team very hard. Like, I OHKO the Liepard can do a lot of damage to Chandelure, do massive damage to the Hitmonlee, the Fortress, the Zapdos, the Mega Altaria, so it's actually surprisingly a good offensive mon versus this team. But this thing's main job is just to get up rocks and take hits from whatever I needed to take hits from, whether it be the Hitmonlee, the Chandelure. This is actually one of my better Chandelure switch-ins since my team doesn't deal with it super well. So I can switch into that, take 2 of anything bar Specs Energy Ball, which if he does go for Energy Ball, I do have a couple safe switch-ins to that, so it's okay for me. And yeah, it's just reliable rocker versus this team, get up rocks, pressure things like the Zapdos that are an issue to my team, and yeah, that is our day AMC. So with that out of the way, let's move on now to the new member of the team that I picked up from the bench and I dropped Golurk. We have Zoroark here. So we have a Life Orb Zoroark, mixed attacking, Dark Pulse, Flamethrower, Sludge Bomb, and Sucker Punch. Dark Pulse just hits his team very hard in general. Dark is a very nice offensive type. The only things that resist are the Liepard, which are 2 KO'd anyway, the Hitmonlee, which doesn't necessarily want to take that extra damage, and his Megahorn, which I do have super effective Sludge Bomb for. Flamethrower, of course, is just to OHKO the Fortress very easily. I wanted to run something like Focus Blast to hit the Pilot's line, but Dark Pulse does enough damage to it anyway, and I don't want to miss Focus Blast and whatnot. I could run Grass Knot, but then I don't hit the Fortress too hard. So yeah, that is why I have Flamethrower there. And then Sucker Punch. Sucker Punch is in case he has like a Scarf Chandelure. That's actually a very big threat to my team. Like, it can click Fire Blast relatively freely once Diancie's gone, and I guess once Mega Blastoise is weakened. So that just kind of hurts my team, and Sucker Punch, to be able to pick it off, is going to be very nice. I can also pick off like other weakened things. Like, suppose, I don't know, Megahorn is like real low and he doesn't want to roost because I have Sludge Bomb, and I can click Sucker Punch, do damage to that. Can maybe out prioritize Pilot's Line's Ice Shard, hit that thing with the Sucker Punch. So just nice priority, and mainly there for the Chandelure. So I can pick that thing off without losing any health from it. So that is our Zoroark. I'm probably going to disguise this thing as Magneton, just because Magneton, well, just like I can force out, like suppose I'm in with suppose I'm in with Magneton and he's in with Mega Altaria. I can go into my Zoroark disguised as a Magneton, and then proceed to click something like Dark Pulse, because maybe he wants to switch in something like Zapdos, which can possibly be 2 KO'd by Life Orb Dark Pulse. He may want to switch into like his AV Reuniclus if he brings that, or he may want to switch into his Chandelure even on my Magneton, predicting a Flash Cannon, and I'll be able to OHKO that. So that is just my thought process behind that. Even if I'm not able to successfully pull off an illusion, this is still just a good offensive threat to his team. Like, I don't need this to necessarily be a surprise. I just need it to be good offensive mon, and the surprise is just an extra added bonus. So moving on from our Zoroark, we now have our Mega Blastoise. We were bringing modest offensive this week with Water Pulse and Dark Pulse, but that essentially hit his entire team. Like, I didn't really need other coverage. I could have run Ice Beam for the Zapdos, but instead I am running Toxic. Toxic is so that I can hit the Melodic on the way in, because that's his only real good switch to this thing, bar like especially defensive Zapdos, and if he does bring a Split F Zapdos, I would rather just Toxic that thing anyway. So that is why we are running that. And then we have Rapid Spin, just because I do not want hazards on my side of the field. I am bringing Scolipede and Kyurem Black that do not appreciate hazards. Also, keeping hazards off the field will help my bluff as Zoroark, with Zoroark being confused as a Magneton. So that is why. Just another reason I want Rapid Spin. And like I said, I don't need too much move coverage. One of the big reasons that Mega Blastoise is such a good hazard removal is because the coverage, like 3 move slots are all you really need on this thing, and then you can throw on Rapid Spin. Plus, it's reliable. Like, it can deal with any spin blocker. Like, for example, he can switch in Chandelure on this thing to block a spin, but then I just fire off a Water Pulse and knock it out afterwards. So that is why we are running this Mega Blastoise. Toxic also hits the Mega Altaria, which is nice, and I deal with Altaria decently with my team. Like, I have Scolipede, I Kyurem Lab speeds it. This kind of deals with it. That does nice damage to it. So yeah, that is our Mega Blastoise. Relatively standard, bar, I guess, the Toxic. But I expect it to put in work. It deals with his Stealth Rockers very well in Pilot's Line and Fortress. I can switch into them relatively freely spin, or just fire off a big hit. So yeah, that is our Mega Blastoise, and with that being said, let us now move on to our Scolipede. Life Orb offensive once again. It just puts in a lot of work each week, and it's putting in a lot of work, or it can put in a lot of work this week as well. Megahorn, Poison Jab, Earthquake, and Protect. Playing an interesting game I'm playing an interesting game with his Zapdos and my Mega Blastoise and Scolipede, because if he's physically defensive Zapdos, he's not 2 KO'd by Scolipede, but he is 2 KO'd by Blastoise. If he's Spadef, he's not 2 KO'd by Blastoise, but he has a good chance to be 2 KO'd by Scolipede, especially after rocks. So that's kind of interesting. I'll have to figure that out during the match. But anyway, huge offensive threat to his team. Can knock out the Mega Altaria with Poison Jab. Like, I can Poison Jab for a possible 2 KO on the Zapdos. Megahorn's a possible 2 KO on the Melodic, depending on his spread and depending on if he's poisoned or not, obviously with Marvel Scale. Megahorn to knock out the Reuniclus. I can't touch the Fortress too much, or I can't really hit that very hard at all, but I do have a Trapper for that in Magneton that I'll get into in a bit. Megahorn is a 3 KO on the Piloswine, and any chip damage on that is nice because it does not have recovery. Poison Jab straight up knocks out Hitmonlee because, like I said earlier, its defenses are paper. Earthquake can knock out the Chandelure, and then Megahorn knocks out the Eliopard easily, though I do not want to get T-Waved, and I have to be careful of that. So, gigantic offensive threat to his team. I know I've brought Life Orb the past couple of weeks, but it's my MVP on the team, and it's been doing very good at its job. It's just been killing things, essentially. It's been revenge killing things, it's been getting its speed boost to outspeed setup sweepers, things like Mega Altaria. I'll be able to outspeed after a Dragon Dance once I have a speed boost up, so it might be a 50-50 whether or not I protect or attack, which creates some mind games there. So yeah, that is our Scolipede. Just standard but very big offensive threat. Adamant Life Orb is just really good versus his team, and I'm thinking it'll put in a lot of work, because he does not have great switch-ins to it. Now, with that being said, let us now move on to the last member of our team. I struggled a little bit with this spot because there were a couple things I wanted to bring. I kind of wanted to bring Virizion just because I have, like, Lumberry Virizion, because I can set up on a Liopard as it goes for T-Wave and then hit it with close combat. Or, like, he switches in Liopard or something like that, and if he doesn't have Encore, T-Waves me, I get the Lumberry, and then I knock it out. Could knock out Piloswine at +2, Stone Edge kills the Chandelure after +2, Stone Edge kills Zapdos at +2, but there was just a few too much it was kind of situational, essentially. Like, if he had Scarf Chandelure, then I'm threatened out by that. If he brings Mega Altaria, I can't really touch that, and it's just kind of set up fodder to that. None of my teams set up fodder to Mega Altaria, and I wanted to keep going with that trend. So I decided to bring my Magneton, and this definitely helps me out a lot because I can trap the Fortress, and I just do good damage to his team overall. We're running Thunderbolt, Volt Switch, Flash Cannon, and Hidden Power Fire, very standard, but it definitely gets the job done with the Eviolite. Was thinking about going with a Magnet Rise set to deal with the Piloswine, but Flash Cannon does plenty of damage to that anyway, and he's probably not going to want his Piloswine getting weakened. Eviolite just to be a little bit bulkier for certain things, like I can take an Earthquake from Fortress if he decides to bring Earthquake on Fortress for whatever reason. Can take hits from the Reuniclus better, can take hits from the Melodic better, the Zapdos better, any hit bar a Fire Blast or Earthquake from the Mega Altaria, though I'm sure he's going to have one of the two. And with the added bulk, it's just very useful for his team. And main job from this thing is just trap the Fortress, because then my Scolipede has a field day with his team, essentially. My Scolipede, and I don't have to click Hidden Power Fire with my Kyurem. And if he Shed Shell, then that means no passive recovery, and yeah, he doesn't have great ground types that deal with this, like his ground type is Piloswine, which my other secondary stab hits. So I can kind of freely Volt Switch across his team. Like, I outspeed a good portion, I deal with the Melodic. I do also hit the Melodic very hard, which is very, very nice. Like, I can Volt Switch versus that, and if he does have Mirror Coat, and he stays in versus Magneton, I'm sure he's going for Mirror Coat, so I can Hard Switch out into Zoroark and block that. So yeah, that is our team. Hope you guys enjoyed this video, and I will see you in the match going up tomorrow. Like I said, looking to get some revenge against the person who we have struggled with in the past because of hacks and a bunch of other different things, but thank you guys for watching, and I'll see you next time.